Hi, this short lecture is about how to complete the weather stations models lab exercise, and the material that is related to this lab can be found in chapter 7 in the lecture outlines on the course website. And so the reason why the National Weather Service has these weather station models is because there's a lot of information that needs to be collected and displayed on maps every 3 hours. There's about 5,000 primary weather stations that are scattered across the country, and these weather stations are collecting at least 20 different pieces of information every 3 hours, and then they send it to the National Weather Service and they compile it. And that information includes the standard metrics such as temperature, barometric pressure, cloud cover, wind direction, wind speed, but more information than that. Now, ultimately, for our class, I'm only going to have you responsible for knowing the barometric pressure, the change in barometric pressure over the last 3 hours, the current temperature, the dew point temperature, cloud cover, wind speed, and wind direction. Okay, it sounds like a lot, but it's not that bad. And so in this lab, the first example we have the weather station symbol. So the round circle here is going to be located over where the weather station is located. So, this might be at JFK Airport. It could be at in Central Park, at Belvedere Castle, which have weather stations. And if we think of this as a clock, then the weather station information is going to be situated around the clock. So at the approximate 2 o'clock position, we have barometric pressure in what I call a secret code. And I'll show you in a minute how to interpret that. At the 10 or 11 o'clock position, we have the current temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. To save room, they don't put the degree sign or the Fahrenheit sign. At the approximately 7 or 8 o'clock position, we have the dew point temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Remember, the dew point temperature is what the current temperature, in this case 37 degrees Fahrenheit, has to drop to for the relative humidity to increase to 100% and the air to become saturated. So let's look at pressure. How do you interpret pressure? Okay, so all 95% of all Earth barometric pressures ever recorded have been found to be between 950 millibars and 1050 millibars. So let's say that you had a weather station symbol that had three characters, three numbers, 999. The first thing you have to do is you have to insert a decimal point in the rightmost column. Okay, and then you have to decide whether to put a 10 or a 9 as a prefix so that the resulting number falls in this range. So if I put 10, that would make that number 1099.9 millibars. That would fall outside this range. Okay. So if I put a 9, then the barometric pressure will be 999.9 millibars, and that falls within the range. Okay. In the next one, we have three zeros. Start out doing the same thing. We put a decimal point in the rightmost column and then have to decide whether we put a 9 or a 10. Put a 9, then the resulting number would be 900.0 millibars. That would fall outside the range here. If we put a 10, then that would make it 1000.0 millibars. So that would be the correct answer. For the remaining information, at the 9 o'clock position, we have weather station symbols that I'm not going to require that you memorize, but I just want you to make you aware. And in chapter 7, online lecture outlines, which I just pulled up here, we can see that we have an example weather station model, but scroll down a little bit, and here is an interpretation of what the symbols are. So in this example, This funny shaped R with the dot on the top of it would be thunder with rain. If there's, it could also be with snow or no thunder with no precipitation. So that's what these symbols are interpreted for. Okay. Now, in the third example down here, I'm going to look at the wind speed, and so I call this a flagpole with flags on it. Okay, so the wind is going to be coming from the top of the flagpole to the center of the circle. And if we consider a compass that has north at the top, south at the bottom, east on the right, west on the left, then this wind direction would be northwest, okay? Northwest. So the wind is coming out of the northwest. You always name a wind, the direction is coming from. And then there are three possible flags that you can have on the flagpole. And I'm going to scroll down here and show you that you can have a triangle, you can have a long flag and a short flag. Triangles are worth 50 miles per hour, actually 50 knots. A knot is 1.1 miles per hour. Okay, so a triangle is 50 knots, a long flag is 10, and a short is 5. So you can interpret this in this particular case. The wind speed would be 10, 20, 25 knots. Okay. In the 3 o'clock position, we have the change in barometric pressure over the last 3 hours. So let me just clear this out of the way. And let me wipe this clear. So -1, 1. And then a symbol after that. So let's just look at the -1, 1. Typically, we have 1 or 2 digits here, and so the first thing we did was we put a decimal point in, and then we have a sign. So in this particular case, 1, 1 would be coded to mean the barometric pressure has decreased by 1.1 millibars in the past 3 hours. And the reason why this is important, the change in pressure over the last 3 hours, is because in a very general sense, as barometric pressure is decreasing, then we can expect to have cloudy weather and possible precipitation. If the pressure is increasing, then we, in a very general way, can expect to have clear weather, cooler temperatures, and lower relative humidities. So it's a very general way to look at the approaching weather. Okay. So you're going to interpret these. And then on page 2, it is looking at some cold fronts. Cold fronts are the triangles pointing in the direction that the front is moving. And warm fronts, warm front is half circles pointing in the direction that the front is moving. And so this is looking at the development of mid-latitude cyclones. That is also in chapter 7. And asking you to interpret the weather station symbols, but in the context of these warm and cold fronts. So I think that is it for this particular lab exercise. If you have any questions, you can always direct message me on Slack. You can send me an email. And I also have the Zoom office hours on Monday and Wednesday evenings from 8 o'clock till 9 p.m. Okay. All right. Take care, everyone.